Welcome to the Dear Young Married Couple podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to talk to your spouse about health and fitness.
And this is a conversation that comes up probably with almost all couples in some form or another.
Yep.
It's definitely come up in our own marriage.
Yep.
And in many, many of our clients' marriages, it comes into session quite a bit. So we thought we'd chat with you about some of the do's and don'ts, the approaches to take, scripts, and just get you equipped for this conversation that really can take place anytime. And we recommend it takes place more often than it generally tends to take place. But we see it happening a lot around the first of the year. So here we go. We're going to give you some tips.
Yeah. And of course, what we're going to talk about, you could really input almost any difficult subject into what we're going to do right now. But since this seems to be a topic that comes up often, like Chris has said, we figured, hey, let's do it on health and wellness, because so many people have like a really high value in this area. Generally, well, because it's an argument, generally it's one of the spouses, one of the partners has a very high value in this area.
And it's not that the other partner doesn't value it necessarily, but they might value it differently based on upbringing or circumstance.
Sure. The norm is different. And oftentimes there's also fear associated. So that's part of their story. So you put that together, and yeah, that could really be a very difficult subject.
It's one of those three topics, right?
Yeah.
There's three topics that tend to be taboo subjects. You could probably guess what they are: sex, money, and weight. People would call it weight, right? So body image, fitness, weight, health.
Yes.
We want to really put it under that umbrella of health and fitness altogether. But those are the topics that people just have a hard time bringing up. When they do bring it up, they're awkward, or they don't know what to say or how to say it. Lots of weird emotions and triggers. And
yeah, well, and if you've been married for a long time, this becomes filled with landmines, because maybe 5 years ago you said this, and I remember it for the rest of my life. And and just a side note, people tell me, well, he said this once, or she said this, and generally it was in an argument. And I tell people, well, they tell me first. They say, well, you always say what you mean when you're angry. How you really feel.
Like the truth comes out.
Yeah, how you really feel, just because a filter comes out and you just let it go. But I know that's not true.
Yeah.
Because when you're angry, your frontal lobes, your processing unit of your brain, so where your decision-making and logic and empathy and all those things that really are necessary for making good, rational decisions is turned off when you're angry.
Yep.
So if they've said something, they most likely didn't mean it.
Yeah. It was probably from a place of just
trying to
fight
hurt,
or flight.
Yeah, maybe trying to hurt the other person so they could push them away so they can have space to
it's
repair
a
themselves.
Protective mechanism. It's not the truth about what they think or their deepest feelings on this. Like it's truly, like Adam said, if you were to put an fMRI scan up to your brain, you would see that you have like zero activity going on in your prefrontal cortex when you're escalated and angry. Right.
So if we could wipe away some of that stuff and just say, okay, well, how do we start off a conversation with your spouse in order for us to get on the same page with health and fitness? That's our goal here. How do we get that conversation going in the right direction? Because everyone knows you can have the best intent, come at a conversation, and just goes absolutely wrong. Then we've all had that time where we just kind of let our guards down and let the defenses go and have a really deep, powerful, long conversation about something that's difficult, and we get like light years ahead of where we were. That's what we want to facilitate here.
Yes. So step one for making that happen, make sure you schedule a time to have the conversation. Now, that means you're going to be bringing up the topic, because you don't have some mysterious topic. Hey, babe, I want to talk to you about something. Can we schedule a time? And be like, well, what? I'm not telling you because I want to make sure that we don't trigger it. No, none of that. Okay. So you're going to have to actually bring it up, but make sure that you don't go straight into the whole conversation when you bring it up. Let your spouse know that. Be really direct about that. So you might start with something like, hey, babe, there's something I really have been wanting to talk about having to do with health and fitness and our goals as a couple. Can we schedule a time to talk about that so we can both be thinking about that between now and then we can come together and talk about what our goals might be? Something like that would bring the defenses down a bit. If the defenses come up, it gives them an out because they don't really have to talk about it right now. They can process it and be more rational about it. And then when you guys do come to that scheduled time, you both are prepared. You know what you're talking about. It's not going to come as a surprise, and it's collaborative.
Right. Yeah, well said. Here's a don't. Don't do that, bringing up that you want to talk about it right after you observe them doing an action that triggers your defenses, right? So
like they pop a cookie in their
so
mouth.
they're eating a cookie and you're like, babe, as they're chewing it, I really want to, not the right time.
Yeah.
That is, so the object of what we want to do is have a very deep conversation that has the guards down. They're not going to, they're going to put them up as soon as, especially if there's a lot of history, as soon as weight or fitness or eating or anything in that domain is brought up. So your object here, your objective is simply to get to say what you would like to say, but without bringing those defenses up. So at a very, and most likely focusing on you. Yeah. So that's really the second tip. Make the conversation, even the precursor date setting one, about you and about us, not about them.
It's good.
So, for instance, saying something, and you already kind of gave an example, but hey, babe, when it's a good time, when you may be sitting on the front swing or you guys are on a walk or doing something.
A drive, that's usually shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, totally. That's probably when
as long as you're not prone to road rage.
Right. That's generally when we have our deep conversations. But, hey, babe, I would like to have a good conversation about you, not right now. I'd like to schedule it, but about our fitness or our eating habits as a family. And I've been thinking a lot about that. I want to make some goals, but I want to make them with you. I don't want this to be a solo project, like me versus you. I really want to bring you into this, but I don't want to cross over a boundary, and I want to just support you and me and the family. So do you think we could sit down at a future date and have a discussion? I don't know, something.
That's good.
Yeah, I tried.
That's good.
That's maybe how I would say it. But
Nice.
I'm staying in my lane, and I'm making this not about, you're the problem here. You don't seem to get your game together. I don't trust you around food. Nothing around that.
That wouldn't go well.
Right. It's about me, what I would like, and how I want to get the team, get us as a team, working forward as a team.
And when you are collaborative like that, talking in team language and us as a family, us as a couple support each other, and you're using that kind of language, you really bring us together and out of this inferiority superiority complex, because that is a default mindset for the person who is insecure about their health and fitness. And if you are more secure about your health and fitness, they're already coming into it with this inferiority complex.
So true.
And if you use we language and even I language, I have some goals and I wanted to talk with you about how I could best be supported in meeting those goals. So there's I language too. They're realizing, oh, okay, this isn't just about you correcting me or teaching me or, giving me all your wisdom in this subject. It's us together, or even you want to grow. Okay, cool. Now we're on the same level.
Right. And she's bringing up the really important point. So schedule a time, right? Making it about us. And that goes for both conversations, the scheduling, the talk conversation, and the conversation itself. Yes. Make the conversation itself without kids depending on how important it is.
Yeah.
Right. If you want lots of, and remember, somebody who feels cornered, even if you're done a great job at calming everything down, they're going to take every opportunity to take the off ramp. Right. They're going to do their best. But if you could keep it, slow and keep their guards down, you could really get somewhere. But you don't need constant off ramps when kids are coming up and interrupting. Oh, babe, I got to make the sandwiches. You're going to feel frustrated.
Yep.
So try to do it without kids, or, at a time where you guys can really focus on each other.
And you bring up a good point. You're talking about, how the kids can be an off ramp out of the conversation, but it also speeds things up. And when there's, speedy conversation, when there's like things are going really quickly, it's easier to escalate. So slowing things down is crucial. And you can even use those words. We've used them together. We use them with clients. We'll say, let's slow this down a little bit. Or can we slow this down a little bit?
Yep.
That is soothing. And you can even put your hand on like their hand or their leg. Like, let's slow this down a bit, babe.
Slow down and collect yourself and ask, is it me versus them, or is it us versus a problem?
Yes.
It's simply collecting yourself and saying, it's not about me getting through to them.
Yeah.
It's about us getting on the same page. Such a different goal. So slowing it down is absolutely necessary, and just keep your eye on that speed gauge or on the speedometer.
Yeah.
When you start feeling it ramp up a little bit with your body language, sit back, be more attentive, go into listening mode, not so much I'm going to show you or teach you, or I need to tell you mode. That normally does a good job at like slowing things down. Or if you've only been listening and you're listening and things are just speeding up, you might ask, hey, I've listened to you and I've tried to do my best. Chris has done this to me many times. And I've done that too. But say, hey, I've listened to you. Could you listen to me now? I have a couple of things I would like to share with you. I think that will normally kick somebody into like the whole reciprocal or reciprocity.
As long as you've done the active listening piece. You can't just sit there and say nothing and then say, I'm ready to speak.
Right. You're trying to understand.
That's right. So if you've been actively listening and you've said, oh, that makes sense because you said da 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 da. Okay. I see why you would blah, 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 blah. You're receiving and actively listening. Then yes, if they haven't asked for your input yet, you could do what Adam just said.
Right.
Yeah.
So just to kind of recap, schedule a time. Step 1, step 2, make it about us. The next step would be keep it slow.
Yes.
Another step, and this is really helpful for people that are maybe a little bit overwhelmed. We call it one goal at a time, or go into the conversation with 2 purposes. So in other words, keep it really simple. What are you trying to achieve? Some people don't, they just go into the problem and start thrashing around and hopefully something falls.
Because
right?
they know they want behavior change, but they don't have an actual goal in mind. They just want to see behaviors change. You need a goal in mind.
Right. Yeah. And there's so much to be talked about. So many people want behavior to change without addressing thought process behind it, especially with food. There are so many, we've worked with lots and lots of people. Karissa actually worked with bariatric clients doing their intake paperwork for many, many, many years. And she had to look at their mentality about weight loss and about
their psychological evaluation.
Yeah, psychological evaluation. We know that so much of health and wellness have to do with how you think about it. Because if there's shame there, so if any time there has been shame in the process of I'm this way, that you're talking about superiority. Like I'm this way, you're that way. Then there's normally shame involved. So, if I shame you, you're just going to go back to something that soothes you.
Right. Even if shame creates temporary behavior change, it does not create mindset change. Therefore, it doesn't create long-term behavior change. So it's really important not to utilize shame for yourself or for your spouse. That's not going to be effective. When it comes to food, you were on this topic of having one outcome in mind or one goal of the conversation. We recommend to work on the abundance mindset around food. A lot of people go into, the first of the year or a new diet with this idea that they're going to cut things, right? Like, let's cut sugars, let's cut this, let's cut that. We're going to do this intermittent fasting and cut everything until this time of day, or we're going to cut. And it's like, I mean, yeah, could that help you lose weight for a little bit? Sure.
Well, that's a lot of people what they do, right?
Yeah.
So they have motivation for a couple of months, and then they fall off the bandwagon and gain everything back.
And it just doesn't develop a healthy relationship with food as your fuel. And so in order to develop that relationship, we recommend starting with something like this. Hey, babe, what do you think about setting a goal to get as many colors into our food as possible? So think about the attitude around this. Like, already it's a game, right? Like, oh, that sounds awesome. Like, let's work on that. Now, could colors mean unhealthy foods? Yeah, it could. But
Doritos, Cheetos.
In general, you're going to focus on getting a lot of extra fruits and veggies. So we're not cutting something. We're saying, hey, in our dinner tonight, let's try to get 5 colors.
Right.
So, okay, awesome. Let's see if we can get, a green this and a purple that and an orange this. And we're trying to get more colors.
Yes.
Now, by nature, we're going to be cutting out probably more starches or, the browns and whites in the meats and starches. But that's not the goal. Our mindset is abundance. Like, let's get as many fruits and vegetables as possible, as many colors as possible.
Right. Abundance in the conversation.
Yes.
It's not about me versus your idea. It's sitting down and actually trying to brainstorm. How could we do this?
How can we grow?
For instance, about the abundance mindset, I remember there was a time in my life that I was actually pretty unhealthy. I didn't have a lot of time. I was in school and I ate fast food every day, practically.
Deal 4 with a Baja Blast. And he'd bring his Doritos home and stash them because he just wanted the whatever the deal 4 was.
And I remember telling Karissa at the beginning of this, this is years and years ago, but I said, so I'm going to make some changes. And there were big changes. Yeah. And she just started laughing at me. and sure enough, we had to work through this, but she was closer to the changes that I was making anyways. But one of the things you were talking about abundance, instead of cutting something out, asking what can I replace it with?
Yeah. So or what can I gain? What can I get more of?
So if you're needing, if you're wanting sugars, you eat some fruit, or what? So what I did is, I loved soda. Soda's epic. So what I did is I stopped drinking soda, but I replaced it with, bubbly and the ice drinks and LaCroix and all the different, because it was really I liked the carbonation. But if you go straight to LaCroix from a Baja Blast, it tastes nasty. So full disclosure, but I love it now.
And something to point out, just to put this out there, the mindset wasn't necessarily what can I replace this with? It was what's a new variety or a new option I can find? Right. What's something I can explore and experiment with? And that's really the attitude you had.
Well, both of us too. We searched for things. Okay, yes. So what do we like? What can we eat more of? And this was a collaborative effort. And we're, being a little transparent and showing this is a journey that we went on. Yeah. I had different habits in my house regarding food than Karissa did. So when we came together, our values were different. What we ate, how we, and we still have different values. There are some things that I wanted her to change and she wants me to change. So these are things that we're constantly working on and communicating through. Yes. But just to say keep it slow. And when you go into the conversation, what is the goal? Yeah. Keep that. So that would be that fourth item, that fourth tip is what is, keep in the forefront of your mind, what is the goal here? Is the goal here just to get into a brainstorm session where you can, come up with better options for instead of eating this, and bring up your own stuff too.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't just put it on the other person.
For sure.
But how can we become more healthy maybe as a family? That would be a good goal. Yeah.
And actually making it more specific is better. I mean, you could start broad like that, how can we become healthier as a family, but then getting more specific. So the example we gave earlier, how can we get more colors into our food? Or something we've actually worked on personally is how can we get the kids a healthier breakfast in the morning? Because, we often would default to toast, which that's Dave's seed bread and it's fine. It's not like they're getting unhealthy things, but just how can we get more nutrients in for them? So we brainstormed that together. So really being more specific, that's better when you're picking that single focus or the goal, the outcome of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. So these would just be good. And another really good goal to have would be, how can I support you?
Yes.
There's so many times where spouses see it as their they shame rather than support, and asking like, how can I support you? What's on your don't do list? Getting very clear about that. Like, I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to send me that evil eye, like when I'm in the pantry or when I go to the fridge, or starting to look nervous if I go to the fridge, that doesn't help me.
Right.
Okay. Well, how can I help you?
Yeah.
So it's known that when spouses encourage one another, or the study shows that if they encourage each other and they're behind each other in their fitness goals, that those couples are much more satisfied and meet those goals more often.
Yeah, they're much more active. There was a study done in 2013 on married men, and those who had support from their spouse were actually more active. I think this was like middle-aged married men. They were more active than those who didn't have support from their spouse. There was another study done on old age and activity. Those who who were married and were supported by their spouse in their physical fitness goals throughout their marriage maintained their physical activity in their older age. So this has long-term effects. We know what that means. That means health and longer life. Right. So long-term effects we're talking about here, make sure you ask your spouse how they want to be supported. We talked about like, how do they not want to be supported with like the stink eye? In the beginning of our marriage, Adam would try to support me by like reminding me that I didn't want to eat that particular item.
Well, she told me she didn't want to.
And I was like, and be like in front of family and stuff. And I was like, how could you say that?
And she gets so angry.
So upset.
I didn't get it. I was like, well, you said.
So make sure you talk to your spouse about what their preferred form of support is. What's really worked for us in terms of support is being collaborative in the planning and execution of food. So,
and here's the really big thing here is if you could get side by side. So make the conversation less about me versus you, and more about side by side figuring, a team figuring out a problem.
Yes.
So what we're giving you is some solutions, but ultimately you need to sit side by side and collaborate, brainstorm ideas of how can we be more healthy.
Yeah. And so like for us, what worked is, executing the food choices and the preparation together. So like, we during COVID actually found out about Purple Carrot. Purple Carrot is a meal subscription plan. And it's similar to like, what is it? HelloFresh or whatever the other ones are. And it's like a plant-based one. We're not always 100% plant-based, but this is a great way for us to try new genres of food and get out of our box. So we're not making the same thing over and over. And we get to make it together. Sometimes one of us will make it, but oftentimes we're making it together. The kids jump in with their fake knives and they're up at the counter, the island with us, cutting, the leftover veggies and it's so fun. And we have loved that. That's been a great way for us and we're not focused on numbers at all. We're not focused on like caloric intake and, all that stuff. We're just abundance mindset. Like, how can we get more genres of food and more fruits and veggies and nutrients into our diet together as a family?
Right. And in doing that and staying active. So for instance, so a lot of this is self looking at yourself and saying, why is it so difficult to blank? What do I like to do? Yeah. And we've both had these realizations. Karissa loves the gym. She loves classes, especially if people keep her accountable to going. Yep. And she has the biggest gains in those sort of settings. Yeah. When people are like, trainers take a liking to Karissa and they're like, hey, why weren't you here on Monday? And she's like, oh, okay. And then she shows up and kicks rear. So that's her thing. For me, I don't like going to the gym just to go to the gym. I'm not a gym rat. I've done that before, but it's not my jam. But I love golfing. And the other day I tracked, I walked 7 miles with my clubs. that's a pretty good workout.
Yeah.
And swinging, it's pretty violent. So that, but then for golfing, I like, lifting some kettlebells and working on my, swing or through lifting weights and getting stronger.
Core.
So as long as I have a goal to work on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are just things we've realized.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, embrace what you love. Don't try to make yourself do something that hasn't ever worked in the past.
Totally.
What could you start enjoying?
Yeah.
Would you like, are you a runner? Do you like bike riding? If you like bike riding, go get a bike. Don't force yourself to run on a treadmill if you don't like that.
Yeah. And, for some of the activities that you guys might brainstorm, for some couples, depending on your schedule and your liking, you might end up doing a workout together or an activity together as your regular exercise. For us, that's not the case. What we do together for exercise and activity is less of the regular, every day or every week stuff. And it's more of the special event stuff. We like to go backpacking together. Well, we're not going to go backpacking every week, right? So we'll plan hikes or backpacking, or we like doing indoor rock climbing in the winter. And it's so fun, but we're not going to do that. Most couples, that might be your thing. You might have an indoor rock climbing gym right next to your house and you can go regularly. But for us, it's just a fun activity that we like to do together and, sweat together in that way. But if that doesn't work for you to work out together, that's totally fine. Are there benefits of working out together? Sure, there are. And we could go into the science there. But if that's not what works for you, do what works for you. And we have found we've gained a lot of, just comfort and peace in being able to have our alone time through our workouts. So he likes to go to the range if he's not golfing with buddies. I like to go get my workout done. He mentioned the gym. My favorite right now is 9 rounds. So it's a 30-minute workout.
Kickboxing.
It's high intensity kickboxing. And, you get that accountability built in because you're on a group text with other people who are at 9 round. And
by the way, that's a good idea.
Yes, accountability. So anyway, just giving you examples of it doesn't have to be cookie cutter in the box. Like, explore this, brainstorm it, sit down at the table with a piece of paper and write down all the options together. Don't judge them, just write them all down. You could trigger an idea in your spouse for how you guys want to get more active and get more nutrients into your diet.
So I hope you have gleaned something from this conversation. Maybe you're listening together.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't have to schedule a time. Or maybe one of you is listening and want to bring it up to your spouse. Follow the steps.
Yeah.
I think it definitely benefit you. And I think it's a really good thing, for people to stay active and treat their body well. You know, like so much. Well, we need our body, right? It's pretty important.
It's our temple.
It's our temple. And, if we don't respect it, life becomes difficult at some point. So
I had an idea. We weren't going to do this, but we have I don't know how many, maybe 6 or 7 free purple carrot boxes. So if you want one of those, just shoot us an email, hello@dearyoungmarriedcouple.com. And you can just put in the subject line, free purple carrot box. And we'll make sure that you get a free purple carrot box if they deliver to your area. In the U.S.
They're really good. They're really, really good. So,
Totally.
Okay, well, there you go. A free for 3 special people. Awesome. Also, around activity and doing stuff, very soon, Karissa and I are doing an in-person retreat in St. George, Utah.
It's going to be awesome. It's March 11th through the 13th, 2022. So if you're listening to this in January, we only have 2 months, and we do have somewhere, depending on how many slots are taken between now and then, but somewhere around 9 slots left.
There's not a lot. We have limited the number to 25 people just for quality control.
25 couples.
25 couples, just so we can have a very intimate setting. There is going to be a couple of days of lots of interactive, tools and
workshops.
It's a workshop.
Boot camp sessions.
Yeah. It's all centered around intimacy, and we're partnering with the Ultimate Intimacy app.
Yes. So the creators of the Ultimate Intimacy app, that's Nick and Amy McKinley, they will be co-hosting this with us. You'll get lots of free goodies from them and from us on your hotel bed when you arrive. And you're going to love that whole intimacy and adventure kit. We're also, the whole title of the weekend, by the way, is the Intimacy and Adventure Retreat. So everything's centered around intimacy and adventure. Some of the adventures we're going to be doing are sand duning, golfing. We're going to go hiking.
Yeah, and these are extracurricular activities.
Yeah, they're all optional. You don't have to do these. Massages. You can do couples massages, or if one of you's not into it, if you want to just hit the spa for
But seriously,
a spa date.
Yeah, I was there a year ago, and the golfing is, if you're a golfer, it won't be hard to convince you. Yeah, playing at Sand Hollow and the ledges, and oh my goodness, Entrada, like there's so many beautiful golf there. Yeah, you will not be disappointed with the golf if you're a golfer. If you're a hiker, there's plenty of, like, Zion National Park is super close to there. There's so many cool things in St. George.
Yes. Also, we're throwing it in for free. We'll be doing couples portraits on the hike. And one of the items for free, a little perk, is that Nick McKinley, the owner of the Ultimate Intimacy app, the founder, he won the Utah Open a few years back.
Yeah.
And so he's an excellent golfer. Adam actually got a golf lesson from him before.
I did.
And he'll be giving a golf lesson to whoever wants it at the retreat. We might be able to rent out a range. We're working on that. But he's going to be giving a free golf lesson. And then anyone who wants to can go play 9 or 18 holes.
So do it. I mean,
it's going to be epic.
This is going to be really, really, really fun.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, go to dearyoungmarriedcouple.com/retreat. And you'll find all the info there.
It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Can't wait to meet you guys there in person and spend time with you in a more intimate setting.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you're worried at all about like COVID measures and all of that, we are going to be naturally socially distanced because all the couples are going to sit in pairs with lots of space between, so you can have good intimate conversations when we're working on various communication tools, etc. And then I'm pretty sure masks will be required in the foyer areas in the lobby of the hotel. It's an awesome hotel, by the way, like a really cool spa, and there's pictures of it on the website, so you can go check it out.
Yeah. Join us. And if you're not going to join us, but you still want to have a good conversation with your spouse about health and fitness, do all these steps.
Yes, for sure. Oh, another thing. All these things we didn't think to include.
Keeps thinking.
Another thing is we are going to be doing our January workshop that we do we did it last January and we decided it's going to be every January. But it's called Our 2022 Habits. So next year it'll be Our 2023 Habits. And we're going to guide you in setting habits as a couple. So you could think of it as New Year's resolutions, but really we're thinking of it more in terms of habits and mindset around those habits. And we have a template for you. It's the template we use personally in setting our own habits each year. We do that the week between Christmas and New Year's every year. So we already did that, and we're going to be bringing it to you, and you guys can set your own New Year's habits in that workshop, and you'll get that free template included. So we'll put the link for that in the show notes as well. It's just part of our monthly live date night. So if you're already subscribed to monthly live date night, you will already have that included at the next one.
Monthly live date night is a blast.
It's amazing. It's so much fun.
Seriously,
it's a community.
Yeah, it really has become that. $10. I mean, just don't drink a Starbucks for 1 week and you'll have enough money for that.
Yeah.
But it's just a blast. And if you can't make the live session, all the recorded sessions are still available to you. So you could go back and listen or watch all of them.
Yes.
All the past. So
this particular one is Friday, January, I believe it's 20th, whatever that Friday is, Friday, January 20th at 5 p.m. Pacific. We go for 90 minutes and there's open Q&A and lots of feedback and community. It's a really a great group. Yeah.
And check the show notes for a link to the monthly live date night page.
Yes.
If you like. So I think that's it.
I don't have any I remember. No.
Okay.
All right, guys. We are looking forward to 2022 with you. And you guys are awesome. We love what we do and we love you guys. We love connecting with you. We love getting your feedback and sharing our feedback with you when you reach out. So let's stay connected this year and hopefully we get to meet you in person this year.
Ditto everything she said.